Mortal Kombat 11 versus Dead or Alive 6. Which one should you get over the other and why? So Dead or Alive 6 was announced last year at E3 and Mortal Kombat 11 was announced at the Game Awards last year in 2018. Both are highly anticipated fighting games, both have their own fan bases, and both games are very technical fighters that reward players for the time that they put into the game. So I want to answer the question for those who are deciding between one game or the other. Which one should they buy, and which game are you going to get your money's worth more so than the other title? And this question is going to depend fully on which game has more value, which game has more content, because both Dead or Alive and Mortal Kombat offer a lot of content. So which game should you get over the other? So I'm going to start with Dead or Alive 6. Dead or Alive 6 is going to have a sizable character roster consisting of, I believe, 24 or 25 characters. It's going to have quite a few different gameplay modes. Those gameplay modes include the story mode, the Dead or Alive quest mode, which require you to perform specific actions in a fight that will net you in-game currency, normal versus mode, time attack, arcade, survive, command training, combo challenge, theater, database, library, replay mode, music, and watch mode. The game has high production values in terms of the graphics and character animations. You'll be able to swap out the music for specific characters and specific gameplay modes, as well as the character select screen and the main menu. There's going to be up to 7 different slots of presets for all the characters in the game, where you can swap out their costume, their hairstyle, among other things that will be customizable in the game. And there will be 2 new characters in the game. The first is Nico, a scientist who is capable of using lightning-based abilities, as well as Diego, who seems to be a typical standard Street Fighter. DLC-wise, the developers are adding Neo Tengu and Phase 4 to the game. So in a nutshell, you're getting a lot of content for $60, much more so than nearly any other fighting game that's on the market. This game is going to have more content than Tekken 7, it's going to have more content than Soul Calibur 6, it's going to have more content than Dragon Ball FighterZ, and the only games that really rival it in terms of content is Injustice 2 and Street Fighter 5. The weaknesses of Dead or Alive 6, so far from what I can tell, is that the game appears to be a repackaged Dead or Alive 5, which you can pick up Dead or Alive 5 last round very cheap. The character roster is pretty much identical to Dead or Alive 5 and has some notable exclusions so far, such as Genfu and Rachel, for example. And with the way the DLC is being set up so far, it looks like Koei Tecmo and Team Ninja plan to milk this game for hundreds of dollars worth of cosmetic DLC, which is what they did with Dead or Alive 5. Still, the new stages, the new gameplay mechanics such as the break hold and the break blow, as well as all the general gameplay modes that this game is going to have at launch, is worth the price of admission alone compared to what you have on the market when it comes to fighting games. So that's Dead or Alive 6. Now I'm going to talk about Mortal Kombat 11, which just had its worldwide gameplay reveal recently. So there's limited information on this game so far, but here's what has been revealed. This game is also going to have a sizable character roster, very similar to Dead or Alive 6, consisting of up to 24 characters, if I'm not mistaken. In regards to gameplay modes, there's going to be the story mode, which NetherRealm always excels at, and there's going to be a new gameplay mode called the Towers of Time, which seems to be modeled after Injustice 2's multiverse mode, except there's going to be a lot more added to it by comparison. So I expect to see a survival mode thrown in. I expect to see all kinds of different mini challenges thrown into this particular gameplay mode. And there will also be timed towers, as well as holiday themed towers, depending on the time of year. And there's also going to be a character progression tower. There will be character specific rewards where you can play a tower that's character specific, and the rewards you get will only give you rewards for the character that you're playing as. So that's an improvement over Injustice 2, where you got a bunch of gear pieces for characters that you didn't necessarily want to get rewards for because you didn't play as those characters. So that's a big improvement, but it also seems to be optional, which is a good thing. And each character will also have the ability to gain levels, similar to Injustice 2. So if you want to max out all the characters, that's going to take a lot of time, easily well over 100 hours, as it did with Injustice 2. And there's probably more on the single player side that NetherRealm has yet to announce. Unlike in Injustice 2, the special moves will all be available in the game at launch, according to an interview that I read online. So you can customize these characters the way you want them to be customized from the start. In regards to the gear system, there's been some changes from the one that was in Injustice 2. Instead of the gear having stats, the augments will have stats. So you don't have to continuously switch out gear pieces if you want your character to look a certain way, but you want them to be stronger using a gear piece that you don't necessarily want that particular look for the character that you're customizing. And there will be in-game currency, similar to the currency system with Injustice 2. And whatever you earn in-game, you can use to spend in-game. And of course, there are some new gameplay mechanics with Mortal Kombat 11, such as the crushing blows, which have been described to be in-round brutalities. And each character will have something specific that's required in order to pull off these crushing blows, which is part of the gameplay strategy for each character. The newest addition is the offense and defense meter, which fill up over time during the course of a fight. Weaker attacks will cause these bars to fill up quicker. Stronger attacks will cause them to fill up slower. The offensive meter is meant to amplify certain moves, or dish out an additional attack, or give certain attacks different properties. And the defensive meter I don't know much about, so I'm not going to comment on that in this video. And probably the most important change for me to note about Mortal Kombat 11's fighting system is that the combos have been designed to be shorter in this game. There aren't as many attacks that will allow you to pop up or let you continue a combo, but the fewer combo strings that are in the game are designed to do more damage. And NetherRealm designed the game to where they wanted the matches to be quicker, and they wanted a system to where it's more of a back and forth between both players, rather than just one player dishing out a long combo for a few seconds. And in regards to the hardcore people who like coming up with infinite combos, NetherRealm has designed this game to counteract that. They want to prevent that from happening in this game. There will also be secret characters to unlock in Mortal Kombat 11. The specifics on that have not been revealed. And you can also name your character variations and change the icons of the different variations, which will allow you to manage the variations better. And another thing new that they're adding is that you can change your intro and your victory cinematics, which is something very new for Mortal Kombat. So in a nutshell, Mortal Kombat 11 is taking the variation system of Mortal Kombat X and is blending that with the gear system and the multiverse mode of Injustice 2, and it's improving on everything those games did, while at the same time adding in new elements such as the offensive and defensive meter and giving the player more options in terms of how they want to customize their character. So without a doubt, this game is going to have a lot of content as well. So the question of whether or not one should get Mortal Kombat 11 over Dead or Alive 6 or Dead or Alive 6 over Mortal Kombat 11 isn't a question of which game has more content, because both games are going to have a substantial list of content. Dead or Alive 6 is probably going to edge out Mortal Kombat 11 in that regard, but Mortal Kombat 11 won't be lacking in terms of content. And both games have a similar size character roster. Both games have extended options for character customization. And both games are sure to be updated over time, with guest characters being added to both games. So I think this is going to come down to personal preference. Do you prefer 3D fighting games over 2D fighting games, or 2D fighting games over 3D fighting games? If that doesn't really matter to you, which it probably doesn't for anyone watching this video. Do you prefer fighting games that have long combo strings, or would you rather play a fighting game that has a balance and doesn't go out of its way to allow the player to juggle combos? Because if that's the case, then Mortal Kombat 11 will probably be up your alley. Otherwise, if you do like long combo strings, then Dead or Alive 6 will probably be the game that you would choose over Mortal Kombat. There are other ways to look at this as well, such as the stages. Dead or Alive has the best level design in the fighting game genre. Dead or Alive has the best stage transitions out of any fighting game franchise. But Mortal Kombat has more environmental interaction, to where you can use objects in the environment against your opponent. Mechanically speaking, both Dead or Alive and Mortal Kombat have quick and responsive controls, and the fights themselves can either be short or they can be long, depending on the skill level of the player or players involved. Mortal Kombat does have some extra elements to its fighting system, such as the crushing blows, the X-ray attacks, the brutalities, and the fatalities, which Dead or Alive doesn't beat. But Dead or Alive isn't without its fair share of special gameplay mechanics either, and the ones that they're adding to Dead or Alive 6 are very interesting, such as the Fatal Rush, the Break Blow, the Break Hold, and I'd imagine that the characters will have their usual special attacks that they had in Dead or Alive 5. So, in my opinion, because I'm getting both games, Dead or Alive 6 I already have pre-ordered in full, and I'm going to do the same for Mortal Kombat soon. But the way I see it is, if someone's looking to buy one or the other, perhaps they're only interested in getting one and not both, or they can't get both and they have to choose between the two, I would base this decision solely off of the gameplay mechanics, as well as the characters that will be added to these games over time. And mechanically speaking, Dead or Alive 6 is not a weak fighting game. It's a very strong, competitive, technical fighting game that you can dump hours of practice time into, and you can end up mastering every character in the game with enough time and persistence. However, the fighting system in these newer Mortal Kombat games, I think, outclass what Team Ninja has done with Dead or Alive 5 and Dead or Alive 6. Technically speaking, Mortal Kombat is just a stronger fighting game franchise compared to Dead or Alive. And that's not knocking Dead or Alive, but another thing is that NetherRealm is very good when it comes to selecting which guest characters that are going to be in their games. And they've come up with a lot of good choices ever since Mortal Kombat 9, which came out in 2011. There's been a lot of great guest characters that they've included in their games, such as Kratos in his original incarnation, the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise, Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th franchise, Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. The guest characters that they included in Injustice 2 were great additions to that game, from Darkseid to Starfire to the Atom to the Enchantress to Red Hood to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So NetherRealm is going to have a stronger character roster by the time they're done creating content for Mortal Kombat 11 in comparison to Dead or Alive 6. Although I believe Dead or Alive 6 will have a longer lifespan than Mortal Kombat 11 in terms of content that's going to be added to the game, although that content's mainly going to be cosmetic. So with all that said, if I were to choose between one over the other, Mortal Kombat 11 would be the game I would choose. It's going to have a stronger character customization system. Mechanically speaking, in my opinion, Mortal Kombat is a much stronger fighting game franchise compared to Dead or Alive. And even though it won't have too many new characters, neither will Dead or Alive 6. And the new characters that have been revealed for Mortal Kombat 11 look far more interesting than the ones for Dead or Alive 6, because I don't like the Nico character already, and the Diego character I'm not crazy about. But at the end of the day, people will have to make up their own mind as to which game they should get over the other if you're faced with that decision. So that's the video. In a few days, I'm going to do an unboxing for the Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, I actually pre-ordered the deluxe edition of that game, which originally I made a video telling people not to buy that edition of the game, and I wasn't going to get that edition of the game. But then I decided at the last minute to do an unboxing video for it, and it was only $10 more. So that's the reason why I got the deluxe edition primarily. I really don't give a shit about anything that comes in that edition. People just want to see an unboxing video for that, and so I didn't mind, considering once again it was only $10 more over the standard edition. I will be uploading that in a few days, and I also plan to do an unboxing video for Kingdom Hearts 3, which I decided to just go with the standard edition for that, because I'm certain Square Enix will release some kind of special art book down the line for that game. And I don't give a shit about anything else that comes in the deluxe edition. And I'm damn sure not giving Square Enix $250 for some bullshit when it comes to that digital deluxe edition with those fucking action figures. So, Mortal Kombat 11 and Dead or Alive 6. I'm looking forward to them both.
Fatality. Geras wins.